this video is for you if you ship out products, because shipping out products is really important. Not only that, you have to price. Should I ship it for free? If I don't ship it for free, what type of box should I ship it in? Who should I ship it through? All these things are important. And at the end, you still have the customer. How can you make the customer happy too after you done figured out all the shipping? Well, we got you. In this video today, we're going to show you what are some top 2 things that we do that helps with this process. One, it comes to the product. What we do to, at the end, once the product is created, to help, possibly with the customer experience and also that review. Because you know what? We need the reviews because we're all online and reviews are very important. So we're going to show you what we do to help with that end process. But then too, because this one is really big, because you can lose your shirt on it, and that profit that you thought you had with your product that you made, it could go down, 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 down. Because we all have had it. It has happened to us before too as well, where we are eating the shipping costs, and nobody wants to eat the shipping costs. We all want to be about profit. So in this video, we're going to show you how. Now, normally I'm on the other side, but today we're going to have my husband, Mike, who handles this 2 top important pieces of our business. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't get these things right, you are going to be making products and sending them out for free. And possibly once you did all that, you don't even get a good customer review or repeat customer experience. It's also going to be detrimental to your business. So Mike's going to show you 2 top things that we do, and I'm going to tell you, it's going to be one of those ones that, you know what, I need to incorporate that in my business right now, or I need to make it better. Now, as always, if you are not following us or subscribed to us, do so now, and I'll check you out after we finish. Stay tuned.
Hey everybody, it's Mike. I know I'm usually not on this side of the camera. I'm usually on the other side. I'm going to make a quick video. We had a live recently, and the subject of packaging and shipping came up. And some people were like, I'm really terrible at that, so could you make a video on that? And that's what this is going to be talking about. So I'm going to be packing up an order that we got going out and talking about a little bit with shipping and packaging and some of the things you need to be aware of. And the infamous tape gun, this is what I always tease Leslie about, how she just can't seem to manage this, and she'd have tape all over the place. It's pretty funny. Anyway, main things you need to know with shipping in general are 3 things: weight, size, and distance. So this is a 10 by 10 box, which would fit in a 12 by 12. 12 by 12, a cubic foot is your basic size that you wouldn't have to worry about what's called a dimensional weight. I'll talk about that because this order here, once I have this packaged, this is going to incur what's called a dim weight, DIM, or dimensional weight, meaning basically anything anything over a 12 by 12, basically a cubic foot, could be subject to a dimensional weight. It's going to add to the cost of the shipping, and that's through all carriers, whether it's the post office, UPS, FedEx. They all have what's called a dim weight. One of these by themselves would fit in a 12 by 12, so that wouldn't be a dim weight. You would just be dealing with the weight itself. So for instance, obviously, say this is less than a pound. 1 pound is going to be less than something that's 10 pounds. Pretty obvious. So you got the weight, the size. I'll get into this one when it's done. It's going to have the dim weight, and then the distance. So we live on the East Coast. We're in Maryland. So if we ship something to California, that zone is a higher zone than, say, Virginia or New York, some other state that's closer to us. So the farther distance, you're going to incur a zone charge. So the farther it's going, California is going to be more expensive than New York or Virginia with us. Now, if you're in Arizona, different story. Arizona's not going to be too much more to send to California. You get the idea. So I'm going to go through this order. Leslie's mentioned numerous times about quality control. This is I'm going to be putting this order together and just going over this. The quality control is basically, we use a lot of cardstock. She uses cardstock, spray adhesive to adhere the cardstock to the box. And sometimes when you use that spray adhesive, you get overspray, or sometimes your fingers get tacky from touching it, and you'll touch the surface side, and you'll get these little, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you'll get these little bumps, little boogers. I know that's kind of gross, but we use this eraser. She loves this eraser. It is a great tool, and you just kind of go through these spots, and it just wipes it right off. And it's smooth. And this is a heavier cardstock, so this eraser is a great tool. But if you use a lighter weight cardstock, if you rub too hard, it could tear the surface of the paper. You know, it could take. But this is a pretty resilient. You can rub pretty hard on this cardstock and not have that concern. But just keep in mind, if you do work with cardstock and you have a lighter weight, be careful not to use too much pressure with this eraser, because it could basically take off the top layer of the paper, and it kind of wear a little hole into it. And but this cardstock that we use, you don't have that concern. And these boxes are a lot heavier, so you could rub really hard on that. So basically, I use a combination of sight, where I'll use the light and go on different angles, and you'll pick up those little areas of glue, because glue can be pretty translucent. You may not see it in one angle, but if you turn it, you're like, oh, I see that. So I always try to make sure I go through multiple angles where the light hits it in different directions, so I can capture any of that glue residue that may be on the surface, so we can make it look nice and shiny and new. And then I'll use a combination of visual and just touching it, just a little, make sure I don't feel any bumps. And I go through and I make sure everything's nice and smooth. Like, you can hardly see it, but I can feel right here, there's a little bit of residue. Wipe it off. And now I feel a little bit more. It's a little persistent. There we go. Okay. And then when you rub it off, now you can feel perfectly smooth. That's what you want. So I'm going to just go through the rest of these sides. And we'll probably fast forward through some of this, because this could be a little tedious, but it's worth it, because you don't want somebody to get the finished product and go, oh, what's this on here? So I always try to make sure all sides, like, wipe that off. And that's another thing. Sometimes you'll pick up little shards of paper, different color, because we got cardstock, we use paper cutters, we got little threads of everything that you could pick up. You just want to make sure none of that is on your finished product. Okay, that looks good. And then even sometimes the eraser itself will ball up these little wear and tear, and that'll just swipe right off. Very handy tool. So we're looking good. We got the surface all nice and clean. Obviously, I think she mentioned this in a number of videos too, is the adhesion she has, because she goes through and folds these down flat, uses her other favorite tool, the bone folder, to make sure there's no lip coming off. No, we get full adhesion on the surface, because that spray adhesive is pretty good, and it's nice and flat. Everything's tight to the surface. Another thing, we ship these whole like this. I know she mentioned in the previous video that you can break these down and fold them flat if you wanted to save on shipping. For our customers, they like to just pull them out and put them right on their display for whatever event they have. So what I do is I go through and I reinforce. Just take a little tape, go in there, just gives it a little more rigidity. I mean, these boxes are pretty good. They're not too flimsy themselves, but I put a little tape in there and just reinforce the bottom, just so gives it a little more rigidity, a little more sturdy. And then we just take one of these inserts and goes inside. And so that's going to be their finished product. The tape gun, what I just did, just tearing off a little piece, Leslie would just have this like stretched out. She's got to get the scissors. All it is just a little, the key thing with this little cutter, I'll show you that in a second. It's it's pretty funny. I know I tease her a lot on there, but she's not the only one. She's had other people that sympathize with her. So like, yeah, that's not something I'm good at either. It's just repetition. It's just, this has a cutter. This particular one, some of them are more fixed. This one has, when you push this back, it extends this cutter. And basically, instead of trying to pull straight back, you want to just a little angle. Just that little angle, it gives it the easier cut. And that's what breaks it off a little easier. So, and it's just like with anything else. Repetition is the key to mastery. You just got to do it. Don't be afraid of it. If you get a little awkward, that's okay. You're gonna make mistakes with anything. But just a little angle is the key. Okay, now we're ready to package this up. So we get these big rolls of bubble wrap. We find these at Sam's Club. We don't find them all over. I mean, you can get them online. We get these, basically they're perforated. So you've got little sections, 12 by 12 sections that are perforated that you can just roll out as long as you want. So these are 10 by 10 boxes. So if you take 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, 2, 3, 4, just tear that off. Take that. So I take enough where I can go through the whole thing. And I do this twice. So this is more than enough coverage to cover all sides. So I do it once this way, and then we got an open side here. I'll do it the other way as well. So I'll take another 1, 2, 3. So now I only use 3 squares because I've got one side on there already, and then I can just tape this because I've got this on the surface. So it's just the way I save bubble wrap. We use a lot of bubble wrap. So I do this all 4 times. So now we got them all wrapped individually, both ways, so all sides are covered. And we're going to use, we get a lot of our packaging from Uline. Uline, you can pretty much get any size box you need. So this particular order, we've got 4 10 by 10s. So we're going to use a 22 by 22 by 12. So because this is over a cubic foot, Basically anything over a cubic foot is, like I mentioned earlier, subject to what's called the dimensional weight. This is going to have a dimensional weight, and you can see the size right on the box. They put their dimensions right on the size of the box. So I'm going to use this down here. I don't have a lot of room up top, but I'm just going to, I'll show you on a smaller box what I'm doing. I usually do the bottom first. I'll seal that up. I'll just demonstrate. This is an 8x8x8. We use this for if we're mailing out a 7x7 box. This is a perfect size. So basically, this is all I'm doing right now. Is I'll seal the bottom of it. This is what I just did for the bigger box. That's off camera. So I'll seal the bottom, and now I'm just going to load the top, and that's what I'm going to do with these bigger ones. So I've got the bottom sealed. So now I'm gonna just take these and they go in perfectly side by side. And with this little extra bubble material, makes it nice and snug. The key, another key to shipping is you want whatever the contents you're shipping to be snug inside the box. You don't want to have a lot of excess room where if you shake it, it's bouncing around. You want it to be snug within the confines of the box. That's going to reduce your damage, because a lot of our stuff is fragile, obviously cardstock. But if you're shipping other fragile, delicate, whether it's jewelry or something that maybe ceramic, anything that's fragile, you want at least 2 inches of cushioning. If it's something, say it's a ceramic, some piece of artwork or something that you create, or some decoration. You want a couple inches of packaging, but within the box itself, you don't want, say you put the nice cushioning and packaging all around it, and you put it in a box that's too big, now that thing's bouncing around in there. You want basically, after you seal everything up, give it a little shake test, and you want it to be as one unit. You don't want to feel anything bouncing around inside the box, because these will get tossed. It doesn't matter who you're shipping through, post office, UPS, FedEx, they're going to be tossing your package. So take that into account. So if whatever you're packaging inside, you give it a little shake, it doesn't move, you're good. It's solid with this, so when they toss it, it's not going to have that shock factor, especially if you have a couple inches of packaging around. Even if it's an egg, a fragile egg, you put enough cushioning around it and pack it tight within the box, you can throw this thing and it's still going to withstand the concussion when it hits the ground, if it does. So I just make sure everything's inside. I go through the invoice and the label and make sure that it is the same. So you don't want to be caught by shipping one order to the wrong person. It's kind of embarrassing. So make sure that matches. That goes on the inside. And that's sealed up. Everything's good. All right, let me bring this back up. Now it'll fit on the table. And again, tape gun, very handy. Just put that there. Nice and easy. You can do it a couple times if you like. So, what I like to do is I run that strip right down the middle, which is really all you need. Then I'll reinforce and I'll go on either side. Because if you get in a situation where, and this, again, it's basically corrugated cardboard, but if you get something that's a little too flimsy, when you press down, if you got a little room, that one strip sometimes, well, now we use packaging tape. You don't want to use, you'll see people use all kind of tapes. Masking tape, Scotch tape, Not good packaging material. It'll tear. I've seen people, they try to use painter's tape. They'll use whatever's in their house. Duct tape's actually pretty good. Duct tape is strong. But if you go and you press down, sometimes that one strip, or sometimes a paper tape with that adhesive on the back that you have to wet, that's good. But if you don't get, the whole thing moistened, it'll separate. And then when you press down, you'll have that little gap, and sometimes that could cause a problem. But this is not going anywhere. I put that middle strip and I put on either side. So you can see nothing's opening up on this one. And then the label, let me just cover up so you don't see we use a Rolo label. These Rolo labels, it's very convenient. So depending on where you are in your business, if you're just starting out and you're trying to save money, because these Rolo printers, you can see it in the back. It's about $200, but it's very convenient because you can ship out. If you're shipping, you can just basically, if you have a regular printer, you can print out a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, fold it up, and just tape all four sides of the label. That's fine too. But if you're in a position where you're shipping out a lot of orders, this is what you want to do. It's got the basic 4x6 label that it prints out. That's the industry standard for shipping, 4x6. It's very, very handy. If you've got a lot of orders, you're cranking out every day, you definitely got to get you a printer. Some people also will do, depending on what platform you're selling on, you can use a QR code. Say you don't have a printer, you don't have a roller printer or a regular paper printer for printing out a label. You can generate a QR code on your phone, and basically once you get that QR code, you go to your shipper, whether it's the post office, UPS, FedEx, and you take that QR code and they scan it, and then they generate the label themselves. They'll print out the label and put it on there for you. So it depends on the size of your business, the volume of packages that you ship out. So it's going to vary individual to individual. I know it's a cost, definitely. Spending $200 if you're just starting out material. Okay, you're trying to cut back, save until you build up orders. That's understandable. That's why you got the other options of the regular printer, just 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, fold it, tape it right on the package. That's fine too. Or the QR code option where you go to the shipper themselves, they scan it and print out the label themselves. So you've got options. Other things to consider, say you sell books. Say you have lots of books that you sell. If you're shipping through the post office, they have a class called media mail. Media mail is very inexpensive. So if you're shipping just books, you can go through the post office and ship what's called media mail. A lot of people, when they're selling like on eBay or online, they'll see that media mail option and they'll select it. Just a little FYI, if say you sell a pair of shoes and you go on and you see the options online, you say, oh, media mail, that's really inexpensive, I'm going to select that. It's required to have certain contents that qualify for media mail. So certain things qualify, mainly books. Like if you're selling lots of books, that definitely qualifies. Other things like sheet music, other things that you can look up and see what actually qualifies. But you can't be selling a pair of shoes and just selecting media mail just because it's the least expensive option, because they can open that up and inspect and see if it qualifies for media mail. And if it doesn't, then you got a situation where your customer could be paying postage due on a package. That's super embarrassing. You don't want to do that. So if just FYI, if you're out there looking on the shipping rates and you're looking at the post office selections and you see media mail, don't use it for anything other than books. And there's a few other options that qualify, but mainly it's for books. So don't be caught in that situation. So I'm going to put this on here. It's nice and easy. And imagine doing that. Say you got 20 orders. Instead of taping 4 different sheets of paper on the boxes, you just peel that off, stick it. It's a lot easier. So if you're up to a situation where you've got a decent amount of orders that you're shipping out, get you one of these Rolos. It's a game changer. It saves you a lot of time. It's very convenient. It's very nice. So a few other things to think of, shipping in general. I mentioned the weight. So again, going back to the post office, they have what's called flat rate packaging. You can get packaging supplies for Priority Mail or Priority Mail Express. They'll provide those free. They'll ship them to you. If you go on the post office website, USPS.com, they'll ship you the Priority Mail or Priority Mail Express packaging for free. So free boxes. However, you do have to ship it that way. So if you get a Priority Mail box, you're going to be forced to ship it with priority. You can't use USPS Ground Advantage or Media Mail or any other lower rates. You have to use whatever applies to the box you're using. So it's very convenient for certain things. Say you have, unlike the ceramic situation, say you work with lead. I'm just trying to think of something that's heavy. So lead, obviously heavy. I don't know what you would make out of lead, but just for argument's sake, say we live in Maryland. I make something that's made out of lead. It's really heavy, and it's going to California. You definitely want to use one of those flat rate boxes, because the flat rate box has the flat rate means what it sounds like. It's always the same price for that particular box, no matter what it weighs or what zone it's going to. So in the lead scenario, it's a no-brainer. It's going to save you a lot of money. However, the flip side is, say it's something like what we'd have, the cardstock, not very heavy. So say you have something that's, say this size, and it's a 7x7, say like one of these boxes in here. So it's very lightweight. So if you use a flat rate box for something like that, and it's going to New York, well, that same flat rate box that saved you a lot of money with the lead is going to cost you more money with something that's really light. So the flat rate packaging is a great idea, but you make sure you use it judiciously. So, because sometimes it can work against you. And that's just something you just have to kind of be familiar with and get conditioned with over time. Like the flat rate, just think of farther zones, heavier is going to save you. But then the inverse happens too. It's going to end up going to cost you a lot more if you use it for something that's lightweight, not going too far. And the other thing to consider when a lot of people are selling online, and the shipping, the cost of shipping, it just doesn't occur to them right away, especially when you're first starting. You're trying to figure stuff out. You're making whatever you're making, and you're trying to get customers. Oh, great, I got a sale, and now I got to ship it. And that's sort of like an afterthought. You don't want to make it an afterthought, because you can get in that situation where, like in this particular case here, this is going to be a dimensional weight. You think, oh, great, somebody bought it. Now I got to ship it. Now this one's only going to New York, so it's not, the zone charge isn't something like going to California or Arizona, somebody farther. So you want to be mindful of that. And you can get an idea of what your shipping costs are going to be. You can go, like for instance, the post office. You go to USPS.com. You can calculate a price. Like for this one here, you can put in the dimensions, 22 by 22 by 12. Put in the origin, destination, zip codes, basically where you're shipping from to where you're shipping to, and it'll calculate. It'll tell you how much this will cost to ship. So if you're shipping on a platform like Etsy, and you have, say this is one of your items that you sell all the time, you could set it up in your back office where it'll calculate it for you. So somebody makes an order, Etsy will do the, say you ship to the post office, and you put in 22 by 22 by 12. When the order comes in, wherever the order's coming from, whatever part of the country, whether it's California, New York, Florida, wherever it is, it'll calculate the price for you. Now, if you've got your own website, or you just ship it yourself, say you sell on TikTok and you're just going to ship things out yourself, well, then it's up to you to know how much the shipping costs. Because I know we had an experience early on with Etsy, and they were promoting free shipping. Well, everybody knows you can't go to the post office or UPS or FedEx and ship something for free. But that's just a marketing thing. It's just like when you price something, $19.99, we know that's $20. But psychologically, you're like, all right, well, $19.99 sounds better than $20. Seems silly. but my whole life I saw infomercials. They do the same thing. So same principle. So you want to make sure that you keep in mind you've got customers that could be coming from anywhere in the country. So this item going to California is going to be different than going to your neighboring, Pennsylvania, your neighboring state. So you got to take that into account. So back to the Etsy situation where they were saying, oh, you want to try to promote free shipping. Well, if we do free shipping on say this particular item, you're going to have some situations where you got to factor that cost into your price of whatever you're selling this for, because you could easily, and especially in a case like this where you have a dimensional weight, you could easily say it's going to California, a farther zone and a dimensional weight, you could eat into your profit, if not go into a negative easily. So you gotta price your items accordingly to that shipping. It's a big deal. So in some cases you would end up losing money per se, for example, in something like this. And in other cases, depending on, say they're closer to you, you could actually end up making a little more on the shipping because you're pricing your item to compensate for the shipping. So in some cases, in a situation like this, you would make more money on the shipping if it was like close to you, and then lose money. So that was a disaster. We tried that. It was like, no, it's not working. We said, we're not going to do the free shipping. In some cases where it might work, or like say you sell something like the book situation, or you've got a lot of smaller items. And I know the post office has flat rate bubble envelopes. So if you know everything you're going to sell is going to fit in one of those, well, that same price is going to happen on every item that you ship out. So you can price your item accordingly. So you can say, oh, it's always going to be $10.65 in this little bag, no matter where it's going or what it weighs. It makes it a lot easier to make your pricing to compensate so you don't lose anything on the shipping. So all these are things you got to consider when you're shipping things. You basically, the main three: weight, size, and distance. That's generally the main three that you're going to think of. You may not be in a situation like we are where we have bigger stuff. If you got smaller stuff, and you won't have all those considerations. So that's pretty much it. I think that covers it in a nutshell. The main situations that you're going to have. Like I said, this was a response to some of the issues that came up on a live, and they're like, yeah, please make a video on that. So hopefully I've covered a lot of the main issues that you're going to encounter with packaging and shipping. If you have any other questions or want more detail on any other aspect that I touched on, just leave comments in the video, or you can send an email to Leslie at info@thepartycrafter.com, and we'd be happy to talk about anything you're interested in. So that's it for now. See you soon.
Wasn't those some great tips? Mike really does a great job. Now, I'm going to tell you, I've heard from a lot of people say, Leslie, you are blessed to have your husband help with it, and I am. And I know there's some people that have solo businesses where they work, but you can still incorporate some of these things, especially quality control, because you know what? You make the product, little things like Michael said, those little boogers might show up on a product or something. You gotta, clean it up. And also with packaging, and those things also go into like pricing, and that's another video, so stay tuned to watch with that. But the shipping thing that Michael talked about is very important in how we ship, especially with large things, and just explaining that. And shipping, if you don't get that down pat, you can lose your shirt. So hopefully on that you were able to solve some of the questions that come in your mind, like how is all this stuff determined? What does it make sense on? Why does this cost this amount to ship from here? And Mike explained that. And if you guys have any other questions or things that you want us to discuss, drop it in the comments and we'll create a video on that, and especially even with shipping. So you know what, as always, we say thank you for watching The Party Crafter, and again, if you're not subscribed to us, please make sure you do, and catch you on the next one.